We want to look at chapter 4 from the text, which is related to the model of financial market. And here the goal is that we want to determine equilibrium interest rate in the short term. So now let's first discuss some of the assumptions that chapter 4 makes before we actually move on to the chapter. Now, the first assumption the chapter makes is that it assumes there are only two financial assets available in the economy in which people can hold their wealth, where wealth is the value of everything you own at a point in time. So the two financial assets that we're assuming that you can hold are money and bonds. In the real world, there are many types of financial assets like stocks, options, but in this chapter, we're assuming that wealth can be held only in the form of two financial assets, money and bonds. Now we'll look at assumptions regarding each of these financial assets, money and bonds. So the next assumption is that we're going to assume that there's just two types of money. Number one, currency in circulation, which is your coins and paper money. And by in circulation, we mean not held by banks or government, but rather by public. And we're assuming that apart from currency, money can also be held in the form of what we call demand or checkable deposits that are kept in your commercial banks. Now, the idea behind demand and checkable deposits is that you can withdraw your money on demand at any time by writing a check or using a debit card, which makes them virtually equivalent to bills in your wallet. So, assuming money can be held in the form of currency and demand deposits. Now, what are the characteristics of money, which we like said we're defining as currency plus checkable or demand deposits? Number one, we can use money for transaction purposes, and it does not earn any nominal interest like bonds. Now, holders of cash earn no interest on it. So, and the interest on these bank deposits is so low that we can ignore it for all practical purposes. So we're defining money as currency plus checkable or demand deposits, and the characteristics of money is that it can be used for transactions, but it does not earn us any interest. Now, the second financial asset that we talked about is bonds. Now, let's look at the assumptions regarding bonds. Now, we'll assume there's just one type of bond and that it pays the rate of interest I. So, it's one bond with one interest rate. In the real world, there are many types of bonds, each associated with specific interest rates, but we're assuming that we just have one type of bond with just one interest rate. Now, what are the characteristics of bonds? Now, bonds cannot be directly used for transactions. We have to first convert them to money, and that usually costs money in the form of commission, and it's also costly in time. And bonds, unlike money, earn a positive nominal interest rate I. So, the main setup of this topic is that we're assuming that you can keep your wealth in the form of two financial assets, money and bonds. And we're assuming for money that you can hold your money in the form of currency and demand or checkable deposits. Money can be used for transactions, but it does not pay any interest. Another financial asset in which you can keep your wealth is bonds, where we're assuming there's just one type of bond with one interest rate. Now, bonds cannot be directly used for transactions, but they do pay an interest.